States gets a colon cleanse as noted warmonger and architect of the Patriot Act, Colin Powell, passes away from COVID. So we will talk just a bit about what goes on with that. I'm sure I'll say something that'll get me kicked off of YouTube, so make sure you follow me on the platforms if you're over on that. But we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. In other news, released footage of the January 6th Selfie Fest comes out, and BuzzFeed says that it's a violent altercation and a violent breach of the Capitol. I've watched all the videos, and I have yet to see what it is that we're saying, but we'll watch a little bit of the video and see what's going on there. But I will also provide links to the Twitter and to the Discord, so you guys can go and watch the full 2 40-minute videos yourself, because unfortunately for time constraints, we will not be able to do so on this program. But we'll let you see for yourself what's going on with this. Protesters in California stage a walkout to protest the vaccine mandates, and this is all across California, so we're talking LA to Sacramento, so we'll go over just a bit about what's going on with that. And they put a bronze statue of Harambe
all right, good morning, everyone. I'm Lena Howland.
into a place where we have a autoplay going. They put a bronze statue of Harambe into Times Square to face down the bull statue on Wall Street. Not Times Square, but on Wall Street. So we'll talk just a bit about that as well. It's going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we, as usual, have a bunch of stuff to talk to. And yeah, we're going to be spending some time today talking about and watching this BuzzFeed video right off in the beginning because, well, like I said, they tell us this proves that this was a violent, horrific attack on the Capitol, and I don't see it. I just don't see it, you guys. I look at this and I say, no, this isn't a violent attack on the Capitol. They let them in, but, you know, I'll show you some of the video and provide you the links where you can sit and watch what BuzzFeed themselves want you to see for yourselves. And you decide what it is. I can present you the information. You find the facts. You draw your own conclusions off of this. That's what we always say over here. So we'll look into that. We will look into Colin Powell. We will talk about these protests and all this over on Contemporary. Good morning, everybody. Let's get the live chat up here so I can see what you guys are doing. In case we have to come out and somebody has to come out and tell us that my microphone is off. But let's get into this and let's go. All right, before we do get started, make sure you guys go over and check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. We only have a start page right now, but we are raising funding to get to the start page that we need to get to, but also make sure you go and check out the Porch Boys, who will be on tonight over on their channel. Thank you, Seawall from the Porch Boys, for sitting in for the RedNet show last night. That was a great time, and we had a lot of fun with that. Also, go check out the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the Ari the Conservative, and the Freckles and Brick Show. Go check all those shows out. They're great friends of this show. I'm trying to do a series. In Elaine's absence, we're going to try and do a series and get everybody from the Turns of Pages Productions media group onto the show so, you know, we can all go out and have some fun. But I also, looks like towards the end of next month, I will be having Monica Perez on the RedNet show as well. So that should be late November, early December. That's going to be a fun time. Thank you guys for that suggestion. And also, as I've mentioned before, if there is somebody that you'd like to see on across the board or the RedNet show, let that person know that you're interested in seeing that person on there, and let me know so I can reach out to them personally. But, you know, the fans do come out, and they help put these people together because, you know, Monica Perez is somebody who was not on my radar. It's not somebody, I had heard of Monica Perez, but she wasn't really on my radar as a possible guest co-host. So, well, you guys helped out on that, so we will see what goes on with that, and we will talk about what's in the news. All right, let's start into it. Let's get into the finance and see what we've got going on here. Starting today with the Dow as usual, the Dow Jones Industrial Average had a sort of a level day. They dropped off right in the beginning, which it looked like the futures were looking up, but, the futures were looking down yesterday. We had a big drop off the beginning. It climbed back up to break even, and then it just kind of fizzled out throughout the rest of the day here. So I'm sure that earnings reports will be hearing some of that because it's earnings season right now. We'll hear about how the rich are getting richer, so we'll talk a bit about that and what that meant for this. Your Bitcoin, let's get a refresh on that. Your Bitcoin is at $62,205 US and 70 US cents, which means that it's still on the up climb. I'm thinking that my prediction may still hold. I don't think we're going to get to Elaine's prediction because it is October 19th, which means we only have a few months left in the year. November, December, plus half of October. We only have a couple months left in the year. And I don't see $420,000 US for Bitcoin by the end of the year. Maybe 100,000. But I think that might even be a stretch at this point. I don't think we have enough days left in the year for that. But it seems to be going at least in that correct direction for it. But we'll see what happens. It's volatile, and, we'll see where the economy goes with it as well. Because, yes, of course, they can go back and money printer go burr and print all that money back off. And, oh, hey, look at all this extra money you have that's worth less and less as we go. But with that, let's go in. We'll check in with the metal prices. Looks like copper is up, steel is up, aluminum is up on the averages, $347, $181 a ton, and 65 cents a pound. Looking into your individuals, all your copper pieces are up. Bright copper wire, copper tubing, flashing copper, number 2 copper tubing, insulated copper wire, thin wire, Romex, all pointed up. Steel BX, brass shells are up, light iron is up, number 1 steel is up. Looks like aluminum radiators are the only ones that are going down right now in the big 3. But all your aluminum is up as well. Cans are up, rims are up, sheet aluminum is up, aluminum and copper fin radiators are up. And then, once we get into some of the other stuff, batteries are down, electric motors are down. Ooh, what's going on in my throat today? I have no idea. Lead is up. All your catalytic converters are up. So if you got some of that metal, it's looking to be like it's a seller's market, and it keeps going up right now. So go and check out all of your metal yard if you want to do that yard cleanup, I guess. All right, let's see what IBD has to say. And I've actually got 3 finance articles today because there was something that happened with Jerome Powell, it looks like, that has come up that we do need to address. So let's see what's going on with this, starting with Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones Futures rally on strong earnings results. 3 tech titans in new buy zones, from Scott Latonin. Dow Jones Futures rallied 200 points early Tuesday on strong corporate earnings results, with the first Bitcoin ETF set to debut. Tesla stock is approaching all-time highs, while tech titans Alphabet, AMD, and Nvidia are in new buy areas. On Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average moved down 0.1%, the S&P 500 rose 0.3%, while the Nasdaq led the way, rising 0.8% to end session highs. Among the Dow Jones leaders, Apple rallied 1.2% on Monday, while Microsoft moved up 1% in today's stock market. American Express, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan Chase all eyed new buy points in the current rally. Dow stocks Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, and Travelers Company reported earnings on Tuesday morning. Tesla gained 3.2% on Monday, extending a win streak to 6 sessions. The EV giant is approaching record highs. Among the top stocks to buy and watch, AMD, Alphabet, CrowdStrike, and Nvidia are in or near buy zones. AMD and Tesla are on the IBD leaderboard stocks. AMD is featured in this week's Stocks Near Buy Zone column. An advertisement brings us back up to the top, so let's scroll down and get back to where we were. CrowdStrike was featured in last week's IPO Leaders column. Nvidia is an IBD swing trader stock. On the futures, ahead of the stock market open Tuesday, Dow Jones Futures rose 0.45% versus fair value, while S&P 500 Futures moved up 0.5%. NASDAQ Futures rallied 0.4% versus fair value. Remember that trading in Dow Futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Bitcoin traded around 62,200 early Tuesday, rising 2% over the last 24 hours, according to CoinDesk. On Tuesday, the ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, which is linked to Bitcoin futures, will begin trading on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker BITO, according to the company, which that might be leading to some of the rise on that as well, because as more of Soccer Mom America looks at this and says, oh, this is something that I want to have here, this is something we want to do, that's going to be where it rises, where it becomes acceptable as a currency. And as I've said, as far as we've gone along, I have probably about $200 to $2,500 worth of Dogecoin right now, because I got a little bit intelligent and bought $20 worth of it when it was at 0.3 of a cent per coin. So I've got a little bit of that sitting in the bank, and I'm never going to cash that in, no matter until it drops below where I bought it at, which I don't think is even possible at this point. Until it drops below that point, I'm never selling that. I'm going to hold on to that forever. But, that's a part of the thing, is Doge is kind of stalled out right now because the meme is over and everything else is going into focusing on Bitcoin and Cardano and Ethereum right now. But also because, there's no way to spend your Doge. With Bitcoin, they were talking, and they did it for a while, where you could use your Bitcoin to go and buy a Tesla. People are talking about using it to go and buy houses and mortgages, which that's going to be an interesting thought in and of itself, because, you buy a house for, let's say, $100,000 to $150,000 house around here in Wisconsin. You buy a house for 3 Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin shoots up. Does the value of your house go up, or does that stay in the value of US dollars? I don't know. We'll watch where that goes and what happens with that. But the point is that there are places that you can spend your Bitcoin now directly without having to transfer it back into US dollars, which that's going to hold the value of it too. My Doge is worthless unless I transfer it back into US dollars. So that's one of the reasons that we're seeing Bitcoin start to rise off of that. So we will see what happens with that. Let's move in, talk about these other two on finance here. I want to talk a bit about Jerome Powell, because this is Washington Examiner. This is not Green Check verified. So keep that in mind as we go. But if this is true, then we might be needing to pay attention to what happened with the markets here. From the Washington Examiner, Fed chairman sold up to $5 million in shares ahead of the 2020 Dow dive. This is from Barnini Chakraborty, reporting for Washington Examiner via Yahoo News. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell sold as much as $5 million worth of stock just before the Dow Jones Industrial Average tanked a year ago, according to newly reviewed disclosures. The disclosures are the latest revelation of questionable trades by members of the central bank. Although a spokesperson for Powell said his trades were approved by a government ethics watchdog, the size and timing could raise eyebrows. Powell made 26 trades in all of 2020, 7 sales and 19 purchases, wrote the American Prospect, which first reported on the disclosures, but the October 1st trade stands out because of the size and timing. Powell, who is believed to be worth as much as $55 million, sold between $1 million and $5 million of Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund shares on October 1st, 2020. That same month, the Dow tumbled nearly 1,600 points, about 6%, marking one of the steepest monthly drops since the coronavirus pandemic brought the country's economy to its knees. By the way, that was GameStop time. That was GameStop and AMC and to the moon Doge. That was the about time that we were seeing that. Questionable trading and investment activity by multiple Federal Reserve presidents has led to a slew of accusations and even prompted Powell last month to announce the investigation into the matter. The rules, which prohibit senior officials from owning bank stocks, limit around monetary policy meetings and warn against any activity that could suggest a conflict of interest between their personal interest, the interest of the system, and the public interest, are crucial to ensuring the public's trust in the U.S. Central Bank. But now some are questioning why Powell's latest disclosure has not been previously reported. The American Prospect reported that Powell's net worth is between $20 million and $55 million, and that if he needed the money, he had other investments he could tap into, including bond funds that track municipal debt, real estate, and infrastructure. And that is what we need to pay attention to. Now, of course, Powell himself does not have a very large salary. As far as I know, he is the head of the central bank in the U.S., but that is still a private organization. But it does look like he does have access to some insider trading off of this. So I have questions. The article doesn't give us a lot of answers, but I do have questions as to whether or not there was ethics involved in this, whether this was even legal, what he knew and why he knew it. And I can understand where a bank manager, because that's essentially what Powell is, a bank manager or a bank president, can be worth X amount of money because, they've got the profits off the bank that they can invest into the regular market plus, his personal. And they get to the top of a bank by being smart with money. I mean, you don't get to the top of the bank by being stupid with your money. But just, especially given the fact that, yes, you're in the Federal Reserve, and you kind of know what's going to be happening, and you get access to some of your Senate meetings and Senate secret information off of this. I don't know. I don't like it. That's the thing, is I don't like it. But, far be it for government to be held accountable, I guess. All right, let's grab one more here from CNBC. This goes on with the printing. From CNBC's Yoon Lee, Carl Icahn says the market over the long run will certainly hit the wall because of money printing. Longtime activist investor Carl Icahn said Monday that the U.S. markets could see major challenges over the long term in the face of excessive money supply and rising inflation. In the long run, we are certainly going to hit a wall, Icahn said on Monday on CNBC's Fast Money Halftime Report. I really think there will be a crisis in the way that we are going, the way that we are printing money, the way we are going into inflation. If you look around you, you see inflation all around. I don't know how you deal with that long term. The Federal Reserve and Congress have unleashed trillions of dollars in stimulus to rescue the economy from the COVID-19 pandemic. The central bank's balance sheet was swelled by more than $3 trillion amid its open-ended quantitative easing program, while the government has allocated over $5 trillion in stimulus to support Americans through the health crisis. Econ was adamant about not making the market timing call, but he believes one day over the long term markets will pay the price for these policies. Hey, you know what? I'm just a guy who yells into a microphone. And I've been telling you that since the first stimulus last year, that this is going to be a problem. That the money printer was going to go burr. That this was going to affect things long term. And now here we are. When did we get the first stimulus? April? Middle of April? Somewhere like that? Was it earlier than that? Oh, was it later than that? I have no idea. I can't even remember right now because we've had so much stupid shit happen. And these last 12 months have certainly felt like 5 years. And these last 18 months have felt like a decade on everybody's life. But I said that when they first started talking about a stimulus check, a direct stimulus payment to people. I said, don't do it. You're going to print the money and you're going to hit a wall. And now it has taken at least 16 months for Econ to say the same thing. On the back of these unprecedented stimulus programs, the S&P 500 has rapidly wiped out the pandemic-induced losses and rebounded to a new high. The equity benchmark is up more than 19% in 2021, sitting just 1.4% below its all-time reached high in early September. The massive money supply has partly contributed to rising pricing pressure in the economy. Inflation ran at a fresh 30-year high in August amid supply chain disruptions and extraordinarily strong demand. The core personal consumption expenditure price index, which excludes food and energy costs, is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, increased 0.3% for the month and was up 3.6% from a year ago. So that's what we see coming out of that. And yeah, like I said, if you keep printing that money, it's going to be worth less and less. I have been saying this for over a year. But it's time for the government to catch up, I guess. It's time for them to figure out what everybody else in this country knows. All right, let's get into the big news of the day, starting with something that was breaking just about the time we were live yesterday, so I had nothing on it. In spite of the fact that you guys did talk about it in the live chat. From CNN. Colin Powell, first black U.S. Secretary of State, dies of COVID-19 complications amid cancer battle. From Devon Cole. Colin Powell, the first black U.S. Secretary of State, whose leadership in several Republican administrations helped shape American foreign policy in the last years of the 20th century and early years of the 21st, has died from complications of COVID-19. His family said on Facebook he was 84. General Colin L. Powell, former U.S. Secretary of State and chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, passed away this morning due to complications from the pinko fucking pox. The Powell family wrote on Facebook, noting he was fully vaccinated. Powell had multiple myeloma, a cancer of plasma cells that suppresses the body's immune response, as well as Parkinson's. Peggy Cifrino, Powell's longtime chief of staff, confirmed to CNN, even if fully vaccinated against the commie coof, those who are immunocompromised are at greater risk of the virus. We have lost a remarkable and loving husband, father, grandfather, and a great American, the family said. Powell was a distinguished and trailblazing professional soldier whose career took him from combat duty in Vietnam to becoming the first black national security advisor during the end of Ronald Reagan's presidency and the youngest and first African-American chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under President H.W. Bush. H.W. fucking bitch. His national popularity soared in the aftermath of the U.S. coalition during the Gulf War, and for a time in the mid-90s, he was considered a leading contender to become the first black president of the U.S. God help us. God did help us that didn't fucking happen. But his reputation would be forever stained when, as George W. Bush's first Secretary of State, he pushed faulty intelligence before the UN to advocate for the Iraq War, which he would later call a blot on his record. That is your record. You fucking prick. And I feel a little bit fortunate that I get to talk about this now that his body is cold. I know that Styx put out a video while the body was still warm and said a lot of the same things I'm going to say here. But I fortunately got 24 hours to think this over and think about whether or not it was going to be bad taste to speak ill of the dead. And I determined it wasn't bad taste to speak ill of the dead, but because it's Colin Powell, because it's bomb brown kids in the Middle East, Colin Powell, because it's Iraq War, Colin Powell, because it's Patriot Act, Colin Powell, I don't give a fuck. Now, I hope that there's peace to the grieving family. You know, somebody's going to go home, there's not going to be another person at the dinner table. Somebody's going to go home, and that person that's been there that they could always turn to and talk, whether or not the advice was good advice or not. Somebody they could always turn to and talk to. Some daughters. I don't know how many kids this guy had, but yeah, that there's going to be the empty chair coming up on Thanksgiving. I understand that. But there were also empty chairs at the holidays in Iraq. And some of them were occupied, or would have been occupied, by children. So, I don't care. Plus all the empty chairs from the people who went over to fight on the ground in Iraq. And of course, the fact that, because I'm recording this on Instagram through my phone, or because of the fact that I'm recording this out there. I mean, it's not too far for the government to come out here and tap my webcam. They don't have to tap my webcam to hear what I have to say about Powell. They can just go onto YouTube and watch it. I'm sure my FBI agent is happy about the fact that he doesn't have to go and tap anything. He can just go onto my YouTube channel and hear what I have to say about most everything off of this. But before I had a YouTube channel, I also had to deal with the fact that there was bulk data collection on everything that was talked about or texted or anything else off of my phone. But don't worry, we're totally not going to use it. Well, I hope that Colin Powell, you sit next to John McCain and say, "Gosh, it's warm in here." But yes, Colin Powell has passed away from COVID. Which is funny because I have an op-ed today from our friend Ron Helton's favorite publication, from his favorite politician. This is from Bloomberg Opinion. Colin Powell's death argues for vaccines, not against them. From Max Neeson. Vaccine opponents are seizing on the death of former Secretary of State Colin Powell, who was fully vaccinated yet died of commie fucking coof complications. to cast doubt on the vaccination efforts against the virus. As usual, these people are dangerously wrong, and the death of someone like Powell, who is 84 and fighting multiple myeloma, a blood cancer that significantly hampers the immune system, is a potent argument to vaccinate as broadly as possible. Data from the CDC makes it abundantly clear that while fully vaccinated people can contract COVID, it's far less common. In fact, 6 times less common in the unvaccinated in August across all groups. The risk of dying was 11.3 times higher among the unvaccinated during the same period. The further you break down the data, the more clear it becomes that most are at far lower risk than Powell was even when healthy. A majority of concerning breakthrough infections occur in older people because they generate a weaker immune response to vaccines and disease even when healthy, and more frequently have other conditions that can worsen the impact of COVID. The risk of dying from COVID while fully vaccinated is most pronounced in those older than 80, though the death rate is still below the unvaccinated people in the 50 to 64 age group and drops precipitously from there. So, yeah, they're going to come out here. Bloomberg is going to tell you that, yes, no, go get the vaccine because it totally works even though Colin Powell died. And, okay, there are things that I can understand and accept out of this, too. I'm still not going to go get it, but, I also don't use the deadly horse dewormer. And I don't believe in that, and I won't use that. I'm not sold on monoclonal antibodies. I'm not sold on the Pfizer Mectin drug. I'm not sold on that. I'm not sold on any of that. Like I said, right from the beginning, I barely take fucking aspirin. I don't do a lot of medicine. I have a vitamin C supplement that I take because I'm on keto, and you can't have any fruits and vegetables on that, and that's about it. But, take Bloomberg's advice. Go run out, hurry, get the vaccine because it totally worked for Colin Powell. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about some other stuff here. So this is from BuzzFeed News. And I don't know why they put this out, because they tried to spin a narrative out of the articles here. And I've watched the video, which, by the way, let's go ahead and put this into the Discord right now so I remember to do it. This is... Oh, it's already in the Discord. Let me put this out on Twitter for you. Reference to what we are talking about on... Very... There it is, the article off of BuzzFeed. That is on Twitter if you guys want to go and check that out. And apparently now they're talking about taping masks on the children who refuse to wear masks. Thank you, Freckled Liberty, for that. But let's talk about this. New Capitol surveillance footage shows a breach by January 6 rioters from start to finish. 2 40-minute videos from January 6 show hundreds of rioters breached one Capitol entry point and how police eventually regained control. A pair of U.S. Capitol surveillance videos disclosed last week by persecutors offer a new perspective onto how a mob overwhelmed police officers and repeatedly breached a main access point to the Capitol building during the January 6 Selfie Fest. The footage shows a small team of U.S. Capitol police officers vastly outnumbered by the crush of people trying to get in. There are at most 5 officers at the frame at any given moment. Hundreds of people flow through that entry point onto the Upper West Terrace of the Capitol. Over the span of roughly 13 minutes, the rioters, in part, do not turn around when police try to block their paths, but appear to argue and negotiate before they push past officers until the officers retreat. The videos don't have any sound, but they show tense verbal exchanges as the officers make several attempts to stop the mob from getting inside. The confrontations are mostly nonviolent, unlike clashes at other locations around the Capitol, where selfie takers attacked police with peace signs. You knew I wasn't going to say it. A Senate report released over the summer described widespread intelligence and security failures that left police officers on the ground unprepared for the surge of thousands of supporters of then President Trump who descended on the Capitol. In the new videos, officers who initially tried to contain the Upper West Terrace breach weren't wearing helmets or other protective equipment, and there doesn't appear to be a coordinated plan for how to secure the doors. There's no officers stationed at the exterior doors at first. The officers are seen responding to rioters who are already inside the exterior doors, are already inside the building, encouraging them to leave. The departing rioters make the initial breach possible when they open the doors and go out. So I do want to look at this and just look at the map of where they're going. So apparently, this is the area in question that we're going to watch video from, and a few different angles of this. We're not going to do the full 40-minute video, but we're going to watch a few of the angles, and this is BuzzFeed selectively picking these little spots of the video to try and spin their narrative, and I think they failed, honestly. But I do encourage you to go check out the link that I just posted on Twitter. I encourage that. I encourage you to watch both the 40-minute videos for yourself. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, because I do have to go to work after this, we can't do this over on Contemporary. We might make that a Saturday special, because I'm actually very curious about this. So we're going to hold on to this article and possibly talk about this in a little bit more detail, and possibly watch the full 40-minute videos for like an Ed Talk or something. We'll talk about that. And really break this down minute by minute. But for now, we're going to watch some of the selectively picked ones that BuzzFeed put out. But apparently this is the West Terrace interior view. So this is, if I remember my capital geography properly, this is the side that faces the reflecting pool, if I remember my capital geography correctly. Which I would say would be the front of the building. Somebody confirm that in the chat, please, if possible. But with that, yeah, let's go look at some of the video here. So this is the video from, I might have to back this up. Yeah. This is the video from 2:33:13 to 2:35:58 p.m. And I won't drop the music because there's no sound, but I might drop my camera here for just a second. Let's see if we can full screen this, which means I might have to move my phone. And I mean, you can see this. There doesn't appear to be any sort of a violent breach to this. They're just walking in. And one guy just grabs a box to prop the door. And now, like, I'm not going to deny the fact that there were problems with this, and there were people who, you know, they were carrying the flags and do it, but it wasn't the vast majority of people either. In fact, we are going to see one clash with the officers in a couple of these video segments that they have here. But I mean, okay, just walk in. And yeah, from the looks of it, it is the fact that it's the officers up here who found the people who are walking in from the front, or from the side door rather. You know, go on, go up. You know, you're fine. Let's see. So that is that video. Moving down here. This one is from 235 to 237, and this is, you know, this is the part where people point out the fact that, okay, you were just being waved in. And Sobiak, I believe, is using this video as well in the next tab that I have open here. But let's have a look at that. You know, and here we are just kind of milling about. There's the police pulling the box out. And that's, I mean, that is the vast majority of it. It's just people out there with the phone out. Hey, look, I'm in the Capitol. It does appear that there might be some sort of chant going on there. The number of people masked does make me a little bit nervous, too. Because, I mean, what did we see off of the September 18th rally? And the live video over on Instagram just kicked off, so we'll set that over there. That'll give me a little bit greater view of what's going on over on my desk. But yeah, I mean, they're just walking in. I mean, look a little bit down toward the bottom. You know, they're walking right past these police officers. You know, you're paying attention to everybody that's coming in through the door off the top, but or at least I have been. One of the officials sticks his head out the exterior door where a crowd is gathering and rioters file in. There's a section of the hallway that neither camera captures, and that's where the other officers are standing. No additional rioters are seen moving towards the interior doors, indicating their officers have tried to again halt their movement forward into the building. Several rioters hold up their cell phones appearing to record the encounter. A person in green combat-style helmet and what appears to be a gas mask walks into the door where officers are standing. A few rioters begin gesturing towards the officers and speaking towards them in unison, appearing to chant. But yeah, I mean, they're just standing there. And yeah, I realize that these are the officers who that they don't have the riot gear on, which if this is supposed to be as bad as they tell us it was supposed to be, why don't they have the riot gear or anything on? Because they supposedly knew what this was going to be. Hell, I knew what this was supposedly going to be when I heard one of my coworkers say, if they let this election stand and we ain't going to stand for it, we're going to go down to fucking D.C. and tell them what we think about this. He actually wound up not being there, but he wound up staying home and working. That particular gentleman. But we were hearing about this all the way back in November, that they were going to come out and do this. There are the officers coming to try and stop this. I believe this is the one that had the violent altercation. No, not this one. But yeah, they are trying to put up some sort of a stop, and people are talking to them. This is peaceful. Midway in the discussion with the police and rioters, some members of the crowd start to press forward, pushing frontline participants into the police. The situation immediately stabilizes. A person near the front wearing a beanie puts up their hands as the officers does the same. More pointing and gesturing at the officers as the conversation continues. One officer runs his hand over his head. A few people walk through the interior doors, and the police let them exit the building through the crowd. Yeah, just let them walk in. I mean, where's the violent riot here? And this is where it does get a little bit interesting here. It says here, rioters once again streaming into the building. A person at one point stands at the exterior, waving others in. Suddenly, a police and riot gear appear in this frame, approaching the exterior from the outside. And that's where it goes, right there. Let's back that up just a little bit. Yep. There's the riot gear guy coming and yanking people away. Now, as far as the legality and the trespass that went on with what was going on with the Capitol, we can argue that, and that can be argued in court as far as misdemeanor goes, as far as felony goes, as far as whatever goes off of that. But, I mean, just looking from these couple frames that we have here, and we'll look at it again in a second, this looks like this almost looks from the angle that we have here. And I'd love to see an exterior angle of this as well, but this looks like the riot cop started it. Like, he went in because, you know, we see the other uniformed cops that are waving people in, you know, they have the conversation. We can't hear the conversation, but we see the hand gestures and everything. It looks like the riot cop was the one that started off of this. Yeah, right there. Tell me what you see right there. And then the flow stops for a little bit. Looks like we have more police out here that are coming off and they're coming in from the outside, blocking all this. Some people are coming back out. Hold on. I want to see if I can get a better shot of that. A still of that back. I can't see what his the back of his uniform says. I think that just says security, though. Because it looks like an S at the beginning. That's a police. That one's plain as day, I can see that. And that's a Metro Police. What do you have in mind, Randy? What do you have in mind for more ominous music? Would you think something like this? Is that the ominous you were going for? But I mean, yeah, there were a couple fights off there, but it does look like the stormtroopers started it. So this is what's cherry picked, and then yeah, we've got the full 40-minute videos here below that if you guys are interested in watching, I've got them put out there for you, so you can check out the BuzzFeed article. And then yeah, this is Posobiec's take on the same thing here. Is the officer waving the people inside? Let's watch. You decide. Yeah, this was that second clip we watched. Yeah, is he waving these people inside? I saw that hand motion. Alright, so that's what we have off of that. That is your cherry-picked items to go and make this look like the violent riot that it was. And that is from BuzzFeed, by the way. I mean, it's not like we're watching this from the Daily Wire, we're watching this from the Daily Stormer, or we're watching this from, who's another one that's really big on the right wing? The Gateway Pundit or something. This is from fucking BuzzFeed. And I don't know, dude. I see a situation where they're trying to get more people into this, whether it be entrapment or otherwise. I think this was devastating for the Selfie Fest narrative, honestly. All right, let's keep going. Let's talk a little bit more about the Selfie Fest. Trump sues the National Archives January 6th committee to block records request. From Zachary Bowe. President Trump filed a lawsuit Monday seeking to block the National Archives from releasing the White House records to the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol Selfie Fest, citing executive privilege. It's the latest escalation in Trump's campaign to disrupt the committee's sweeping probe into the circumstances surrounding January 6th, including his actions and communications leading up to the Capitol attack. Trump has already attempted to assert executive privilege to block former aides from testifying, despite subpoenas issued by the committee. The committee will vote Tuesday evening on a criminal referral for former Trump aide Steve Bannon over his refusal to comply with subpoena. President Biden waived executive privilege in an initial set of White House documents produced in response to the committee's request for information, a move that Trump's lawsuit attacked as a political ploy to accommodate his partisan allies. The committee's request amounts to nothing less than a vexatious, illegal fishing expedition, openly endorsed by Biden, and designed to unconstitutionally investigate President Trump and his administration, the lawsuit claims. The committee's requests are unprecedented in their breadth and scope and are untethered from any legitimate legislative purpose. The lawsuit seeks to invalidate the committee's request and block the National Archives from turning over the records, at least until Trump can't conduct a full privilege review of all the requested materials. So, and the lawsuit is here. We'll actually put that in to Twitter as well. Another reference from So there's the Axios that we're reading, in case you guys do want to go down and read the full lawsuit. It's right here. But I do understand where they're coming from this and why this could possibly be a thing. Now, the Congress has given themselves massive breadth and scope, almost carte blanche, to look through any document that they want, if they can get access to the document, to try to connect the former president to the January 6th Selfie Fest, because they have to do this. And that doesn't include, they have full carte blanche to every record, just like they did for every financial record, for the Russia investigation, for the financial investigation, for every other investigation they've had. They've got full carte blanche over this, which some of this is. I mean, there's top secret stuff, there's President's Eyes Only stuff, there's military classified stuff that cannot go to some of these committee members unless they go and they go into the National Archives and use this to say, we're looking into this for the investigation of the January 6th Selfie Fest. And what do you want to bet? That even if they can't find anything, all of a sudden, mysteriously, some of this comes out and gets released and says, oh, look at what they did. Look, this is the violent thing that they did for the military, this and that. And I don't know what's in the archives. Neither do any of you. Neither do most members of Congress. But yes, this does look like I can see where they're coming from on the lawsuit. And once again, I don't know what's in there, and I don't know what's going to be used because I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see the future. But this really does look like an incident where they're looking into this and trying to say, okay, what can we find? What can we dig up? Because, I mean, after seeing what BuzzFeed just released, what did they actually have on the Selfie Fest? Other than a few people out there who were assholes who, as far as I can tell, might be glowies at this point. And an excuse to go down and analyze every single piece of paper, every document, every single action of the former presidency, trying to find something. This guy's going to be under investigation until the day he dies, and probably for 20 fucking years afterwards. But I also find it ironic as well, and I pointed this out. Now, I'm all for transparency. The battle for transparency is going to fit between the president, the former president, and the current Congress. And I do think that these records should be unsealed. And I don't think we should have top secret stuff. The only top secret stuff should be stuff out there that could directly get a person killed. A spy, a field agent, something like that. That should be the only top secret stuff that we have. Where an opposing government could make the person that's spying on them right now and then drag him out back and fucking kill him. That's the only stuff that should be classified. But with that being said, I do happen to remember, I don't know, all the way back in October, when they conveniently said, and the same people who are calling to have these records released, conveniently said that the University of Delaware shouldn't have any responsibility to open up their archives and release records from a certain sitting president's tenure as both a senator and a vice president because of something that Tara Reid said. Look for consistency, I guess. Like I said, I don't care. I think it should all be open. I think we should be able to see everything. Throw the fucking doors open. Let's all be transparent. Let's see what the government's doing. Unless, like I said, it could go out and legitimately get somebody killed. But that's what we see. From The Blaze, speaking more on the January 6th Selfie Fest. Jamie Lee Curtis says new Halloween movie mirrors January 6th riots. A mob of angry people who don't trust the government. I don't trust the government, and I don't see any reason that any of the rest of you should either. Because they classify anything that they don't want you to see, whether it has any reason to be classified or not. From Dave Urbanski. Actress Jamie Lee Curtis said Halloween Kills, the newest iteration of the famous slasher movie franchise, actually mirrors the January 6 riots at the U.S. Capitol. Curtis, who starred in the first Halloween, released in 1978, told Entertainment Weekly that the franchise's 2018 flick, also called Halloween... What the fuck? Where'd my article go? Also called Halloween, writers David Gordon Green and Danny McBride focused on female trauma and did so before the #MeToo movement, where women were standing up and saying, "Me too, I suffer trauma at the hands of others. I'm not going to be quiet anymore. Give me money." Oops, did I say that loud? She said the 2018 movie was about a woman who had been traumatized for 40 years and was taking her life back. Now, you might say, wow, weren't they lucky that they made a movie that crested right when the female trauma conversation was happening globally? But Curtis said Green and McBride's work with the new film, Halloween Kills, in a way foretells the January 6th Selfie Fest at the U.S. Capitol as the movie about rage, about a mob of angry people who don't trust the government, who don't trust the police, who don't trust the authorities to get the job done. They're going to do the jobs themselves. She added to Entertainment Weekly. And then look what happened on January 6th, the United States of America. A mob descended on the Capitol, and were it not for those 4 brave police officers, as well as all the other Capitol Police, DC Police, and civilians, who stood up and held the line. Think about the possibility of what that mob could have done to members of Congress. These people were coming to kill people, That's what the movie's about. Now, how the fuck did David Gordon Green and Danny McBride know that the follow-up to Trauma was rage? So if you ask me, what scares me? Rage scares me. Unbridled, unrestrained, out-of-your-mind rage that yields mob mentality and mob rule. That scares me. This is coming from somebody who now sells diarrhea yogurt. Curtis has made her socio-political sentiments very well known over the last few years. On the eve of the release of 2018's Halloween, she linked the years of trauma her character Laurie Strode endured to the Christine Blasey Ford Brett Kavanaugh controversy, which was the top headline at the time. Interesting. So, there you go. The movie is just like real life. Let's talk about California for just a second. San Diego parents participate in statewide sit-out to protest school vaccine mandate. This is from CBS 8. From the CBS 8 News 8 team. San Diego, in protest against the statewide vaccine mandate, some parents, students, teachers, and school staff throughout California planned a statewide school walkout for Monday, October 18th. Organizers of the movement say they're standing for freedom of choice against the mandates. Monday morning, a crowd gathered at Balboa Park. It's really important to teach kids that there are some things worth fighting for, said Jacqueline Holmes of Santee. Her two daughters go to Literacy First Charter School in El Cajon. She took them out of school for the day to attend the rally. America is not one size fits all. It has never been. When you say, this is what you need to do to go to school, this doesn't feel right. Let's look at some of the video from that.
That is where we make an example of any school district that is more concerned in expanding their power and overreaching than in education.
In response to the walkout, San Diego Office of Education said keeping children home from school to protest state policies impacts their learning time and student academic success. There are flyers all over the state. This is not one specific group that's organizing this, said Sharon McKeanman, the founder of Let Them Breathe, this group of students concerned about the effects of masks and vaccines for children. Flyers posted on social media invited the people to Oregon Pavilion in Balboa Park to participate in a field trip to explore educational resources and museums. McKeanman said the morning will be for parents to connect about alternative schooling options like micro-schools or homeschooling. If they're calling their kids out from school for the day, they want it to be a positive educational thing, said McKeeman. Organizers asked parents to call their students' schools and state they are keeping them home not because they're sick, but because they're not okay with a vaccine mandate. Many school districts sent out responses in opposition to the planned walkout. The Grossmont Union High School district disagreed with the movement, stating, "We respect all of our community's members, strongly held beliefs about the state's mandates. At the same time, we never want students to fall behind. It's important for them to be in class during the school day." Yes, make sure you go and get your government indoctrination, because otherwise you might think for yourself and you might question the narrative that we're telling us. And we can't have you out there questioning the narrative. You have to learn what's proper to think and what's right to think. Alright, so there's that. Let's grab one from ABC 30 Action News. California parents to protest school vaccine mandates by keeping kids home on Monday. From Alyssa Navarro, Jason Oliveira, and Laura Anthony. Students across California may be staying home Monday, protesting Governor Newsom's recent COVID-19 mandate. Earlier this month, California became the first state to announce that the pinko-fucking-pox jab would be mandatory for all school students in the state once a shot is fully approved. All California school children who attend the school in person will be required to get the shot. Enforcement could begin as early as January and at the latest July. Newsom's announcement has caused concern among some parents. Many social media posts circulated about a campaign to keep kids home from school, including in Fresno. Parents in support of the vaccine say students are already required to get immunized for 10 other serious diseases to attend school in California. They believe this is no different. Meanwhile, parents joining the protest haven't given up. We know that if our children rather stay home from school, that they will impact the funding that schools will get for that day, and we want them to know that we're serious about not being forced to vaccinate our children, said parent Babe Prieto, who supports the walkout. In the Clovis Unified School District, administrators notified parents of the mandate on October 1st. The state has not released a clear date of the implication. A lot of people think we're anti-vaccine, we're anti-mask, said Clovis Unified parents Sean Soares. We're freedom to choose and what's best for us, and it's not a one-size-fits-all type thing. Medical and religious belief exemptions will be allowed, but the rules for how the state would apply them have not been written yet. Conveniently, the laws haven't been written. So the mandate's been written, but the laws for defying the mandate have not been written. How convenient for this. Get your kids out of the public school. First and foremost, get your fucking kids out of the public school. Get them as far away from it as you can. But if you have to have your kids in the public school, then yes, you should have the ability. You should have the right to make your grievances aired. You should have the right to have a walkout, to protest. The left does it. The left does it all the time. We're going to walk out for this. They did the walkout for the school. We didn't hear a word about the fact of this could be detrimental to the learning of these poor children who are protesting that the verdict in the Chauvin trial might not go the way that they want it to. This could be detrimental. We never heard that. So it seems that the how much of a detriment this is somewhat politically motivated. We've seen numerous walkouts, the die-in, the shit like that in Florida, over gun violence. We never hear at that point that this could be horribly detrimental to the learning of these students. We never hear those words when it's a left-wing cause that they like. But because this is against the vaccine mandate, we can't have all these students missing a day of class. They might fall behind. The horror, the agony. Alright, I think one more on this one. And then we'll shift gears and go back to incentives. From ABC 10, a protest in Sacramento is pushing back against vaccine mandates for students. Here's why. So we've been all the way as far down as San Diego and Santee, and we're all the way up as far as Sacramento, and probably further. From Eric Escalante. On Monday, parents from across California are planning to push back against COVID-19 vaccine mandates for students. The protest is slated to take place along the west steps of the Capitol building. However, it is far from being the only one of its kind in recent times. Similar protests have been held in regard to healthcare workers, and in Modesto, a protest against the vaccine mandates for students was held in the Stanislaus County Office for Education earlier this month. The Our Children, Our Choice protest on Monday comes in light of Gavin Newsom's mandate that the COVID-19 vaccine gets jabbed into eligible children. We're fighting for the freedom to take the medical choices that are best for our children. We are fully prepared to pull our kids out of public school and hire our own teaching staff if that's what it takes. We do not co-parent with the government, said Tess Van Dusen, an event organizer, in a news release. Organizers are expecting roughly 3,000 parents, students, and teachers to attend. We want this to be a learning experience for our children because I feel like the days right now we're living in, we're kind of fighting for our freedoms. And it's really important for me to teach my son that you need to stand up for your liberties, said Amber Faddis, another event organizer. With thousands expected at the Capitol, here's what you should know. According to Faddis and Van Dusen, the protest is in response to Newsom's vaccine mandate for school children. They also said it was tied to the freedom to make medical decisions for their children. State Assembly member Kevin Kiley, founder of Kids and Country Rebecca Friedrichs, and Pastor Greg Farrington of Destiny Church are lined up as speakers. The event is also calling on parents to keep their kids home from school on October 18th. An inquiry to the CHP regarding the preparations for the event was not returned on Sunday. However, Sacramento police said they'll have officers in the area to facilitate any road closures if needed. At this time, there are no planned closures. A handful of school districts have spoken out ahead of the planned protest, specifically in regard to parents possibly keeping their children home from school. In a letter to parents, Somerville Union High School said keeping children home from school would only result in lost learning time for our students. They added that the district has no control over the mandate. Twin Rivers also spoke out in a letter to parents urging them to keep their kids in school despite the protest. Please consider that for 18 long months, the pandemic prevented having our schools open for students, but now they are back. Please let us continue to educate them in school and in person, said Superintendent Steve Martinez in a letter. They do not need to miss school for voices to be heard. If you have strong feelings against vaccination mandates, consider sending an email or a video message to the governor and writing a letter to your elected representative. So they can go directly in the trash. No, I'm serious. These people are not getting heard, and they feel like they're not getting heard. So they're doing something to get heard. And I haven't heard any word as to whether there was any violence or anything. It doesn't appear that there was any violence anywhere. It appears to be, once again, a lot of soccer moms from the Valley and upper middle class Sacramento and possibly down in San Diego and places like that. That's what it appears to be, anyway. So I don't know if there was going to be a big problem, but the Sacramento police are going to be there to facilitate road closures, or be there to call somebody up for riot gear once this becomes fiery but mostly peaceful. And this is the kind of thing, and this is kind of what I mentioned too when we talked about the Justice for January 6th rally. Rally at your state. Don't go to the federal government, which is what these people are doing. Now, this is a state issue, but they're also pulling their kids out, and they're having rallies in their hometowns. They're not all going to Sacramento to go up to the Capitol steps. A few people in Sacramento school districts and surrounding are probably going up there to the Capitol steps, but this is a protest that's going to be protested in parks, or was rather, because this was yesterday. That was protested in parks and museums and city buildings all across California, rather than just everybody going up to the Capitol where they can be fucking fish in a barrel. So I'm happy to see this. This is what we need to do. Protest, make sure your voices are heard, and spread it out. Spread it out. That's the important part. Spread it out, because they can't shut them all down. On the other side, shifting gears, COVID vaccine incentives, Minnesota offers $100,000 in college scholarships, $200 Visa gift cards to teens. From Fox 9 staff. Minnesota's offering kids 12 to 17 a $200 Visa gift card and a chance to win a $100,000 college scholarship if they get vaccinated against COVID-19. Students who are already vaccinated are also eligible to enter the scholarship drawing. Tim Walz announced the Kids Deserve a Shot vaccine incentive program on Monday to encourage teenagers and preteens to get the pinko fucking pox jab. Walz is hoping the current incentives will help boost the vaccination. Why is Walz still in power? By the way, Walz cowered and hid and cried and wouldn't let the National Guard come into his state during the St. George riots. Why the fuck has Walz not been given a pink slip and dragged out of the governor's mansion, kicking and fucking screaming? Walz is hoping the incentives will help boost the vaccination rate among children. Currently, only 50% of Minnesotans aged 12 to 15 and less than 60% of Minnesotans aged 16 to 17 are fully vaccinated, the lowest vaccination rates among all eligible age groups. Minnesota 12 to 17-year-olds who start and complete their 2-dose COVID-19 vaccine series between October 8th and November 30th will be eligible for a $200 Visa gift card, according to a news release. Parents or guardians can register their child for the reward once they have completed their 2-dose series. Registration for the gift card will open at 8 a.m. on Monday, November 9th. Minnesota will also hold 5 drawings for a $100,000 scholarship to any public or private nonprofit college or university in the state. Any Minnesotan ages 12 to 17 who gets vaccinated against COVID-19 has already completed their vaccine series is eligible to enter. So they're trying to go back to the incentive side of it. They're trying to come out and say, oh yes, no, you love the idea of going and getting the vaccine, don't you? You might get money. You might get a scholarship. You might do this. What's the end game? Other than, of course, giving money to their big donors at Pfizer, BioNTech, Merck, if we get down to Merck, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna. Because these are all big money donors that come out and give money to big Democrats. And these vaccines are not no cost. They're not. It's just the government's paying the bill on a no-bid contract. You have no idea what this costs and how much the taxpayers are going to be on the hook for this, because they don't tell you. This could be $1,000 a shot and you wouldn't know, because we're making this free and clear. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a person who looks at this and says, oh, well, they're microchipping us. They're using the vaccine to put microchips in our teeth and listen to our thoughts and conversations, and they know wherever they are. I'm not that person. I'm not the person who says they're putting mercury into us to try and get us to be more autistic. I'm not that person. But I'm saying that a bunch of rich people are about to get richer on the government dime, and I'd like to know what the actual posted cost of this is for the bill that's going to the federal government and the state governments. I'd like to see that number, please. Because I myself would like to follow the money and see just how rich Pfizer, Moderna, BioNTech, Johnson & Johnson are getting off of this. Let's grab one here from Wired. This was left in the Discord by one Ronald Helton. From Marin McKenna, another global pandemic is spreading among pigs. A disease outbreak blossoms in China. Exactly how it emerges, far from the eyes of any surveilling scientist. No one can quite explain.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lena Howland reporting for ABC 10. We wanted to bring you live right now, whereas we are...
Shut up, you. It spreads with incredible speed, killing in wide swaths, freezing transport and trade, and causing vast economic disruption. Hitchhiking on global travel, it circles around the world. There is no cure, no vaccine. Inevitably, it arrives in the Americas in July of 2021. Yep, 2021. The year's not a typo. This outbreak isn't COVID, it's a parallel hidden pandemic, a deadly animal disease called African swine fever that was detected in the DR in July. African swine fever poses no risk to humans, but it's incredibly destructive to livestock. Those deaths in China were millions of pigs, at least 1/4, possibly half of the entire herd of the world's largest pork producer. In the U.S., animal health and authorities are now on high alert. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has pledged an emergency appropriation of $500 million to ramp up surveillance and keep the disease from crossing borders. African swine fever is feared internationally that if it were found in the U.S., pork exports, worth more than $7 billion a year, would immediately shut down. Long-distance transboundary spread of highly contagious and pathogenic diseases is worst-case scenario, Michael Ward, an epidemiologist and chair of veterinary public health at the University of Sydney, told Wired by email. In agriculture, it's the analog of COVID-19. As with the COVID pandemic, at its start, there is no vaccine, but as with COVID, there is a glimmer of hope. For one, thanks to basic science that has been laying down findings for years without receiving much attention. 2 weeks ago, a multinational team led by scientists at the USDA's Agriculture Research Service announced they had achieved a vaccine candidate based on a weakened version of the virus with a key gene deleted, and demonstrated its effectiveness in a field trial in pigs in Vietnam. What did I say that was denigrating to women? I don't remember. I've said a lot of things here, so what did I say? Apparently I said something. Oh well. As far as the swine flu and the pig here, I mean, yeah. If this is killing off half of a herd in China, then that means that we're going to have to start getting out there and get pigs fucking to go make more pigs, because if we start to see pork prices go too high, then people are going to riot. They're not going to be happy about that. So that is something to watch and something else to come back and panic about. From the New York Post, Jeff Bezos may have lied to Congress about Amazon's practices, reps say. From Theo Waite, Jeff Bezos may have lied to Congress about Amazon's business practices when he says the company doesn't use data from third-party sellers to develop its own products, according to a scathing letter from a group of bipartisan legislators. Really? I thought that was common knowledge. The news comes after a Reuters investigation published last Wednesday showed that Amazon tracked search and sale data from third-party sellers to help develop its own private label products in India, a practice that Bezos denied engaging in when he testified to Congress under oath in 2020. Citing the Reuters report, a group of Congress members, including Jerry Nadler, Ken Buck, sent a letter to Amazon CEO Andy Jassy on Sunday, threatening to ask the Department of Justice to open a criminal probe. Yeah, dude, nothing's going to happen out of this. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to come out of this. Bezos is going to continue to count his billions of dollars every day and say, gosh, I'm rich. Gosh, I've got a hot new young girlfriend after my wife divorced me. Gosh, it's good to be me. Let's go to space again. But sure, go open up another one off of this. And we all know this is happening. That's the worst part of it. We all know this is happening. I'm about to say worse things about Jen Psaki, so. From the Daily Wire, Psaki on Communist China obtaining advanced nuclear-capable weapons tech. We welcome stiff competition. Do we have a video of this? Yes, we do. White House red-haired bobblehead responded to news reports over the weekend that indicated that China had developed advanced nuclear-capable weapons by saying that the Biden admin welcomes stiff competition. Psaki made the remarks in response to questions from a journalist on whether the reports were accurate and whether the admin was concerned about China's capabilities. Let's listen.
And then can you comment on reports that China tested a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile over the summer to the surprise of U.S. officials? Are these accurate, and do these raise concerns about China's nuclear capability?
Well, I know Secretary Austin, I should say, was asked this question this morning and addressed it, but I'm not going to comment on the specific report. I can say and would echo what he said, which is generally speaking, we've made clear our concerned about the military capabilities that the PRC continues to pursue. And we have been consistent in our approach with China. We welcome stiff competition, but do not want that competition to veer into conflict, and that is certainly what we convey privately as well.
You do know that if they develop nuclear technology and the ability to transport it outside of our defense systems, there is the distinct possibility that they're going to turn it on us. You know that, right? And once again, this is accepting the fact that at face value, this was also something that actually happened, which, once again, I'm not 100% sure of, because I also know that this is conveniently the time where they're looking and begging to get more money out of people to go prop up the government, to do more for the government, do more. Let's get some more money off of this, because we want to be government people, and we need infrastructure, and we might have to develop a weapon to take on China. Oh no! Oh no! From CNN Politics. This will probably raise a few eyebrows among live viewers here, especially with the views that I know are here on a qualified immunity. Supreme Court sides with police officers in 2 qualified immunity cases. From Ariane de Vogue. In 2 unsigned opinions on Monday, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of police officers seeking qualified immunity from allegations of excessive force. In both cases, the justices overturned lower court decisions that went against the officers. The rulings, and the fact that no justice publicly dissented, suggest that the court is not willing, at least for now, to radically transform how it considers qualified immunity cases. Qualified immunity is a legal doctrine developed in the courts that shields law enforcement from liability from constitutional violations and includes allegations of excessive force. In recent years, legal scholars, lawmakers, and judges have criticized the doctrine, arguing that it's not grounded in the proper legal authorities and too often shields officials from accountability. Calls for the court to take a substantial new look at the doctrine intensified after the killing of George Floyd, St. George hallowed be his name, in 2020. Under existing precedent, an officer is not liable, even if he or she violates the Constitution, unless it was clearly established by prior cases that the conduct at issue was unconstitutional. Critics say that the bar is too high and forces those claiming excessive force to search for a prior case with nearly identical facts. Last term, there were 2 instances where the court wiped away lower court opinions that had granted qualified immunity to government officials, leading some to believe that the court was moving in a new direction to chip away at the doctrine. Well, I would say end qualified immunity because, if you're going to pick up and pull that trigger, you better make goddamn sure you were justified. And a few of these people were justified, by the way. But you had better make for goddamn sure that you're justified if you're going to pick this up. It's the same thing with the Kim Potter thing, which, you'll notice that fell off the news right away. But no, that woman should not have been on the force. If you can't tell the difference in a moment's notice between your taser and your gun, and you pull up and you shoot somebody, yes, you should be, at the very least, taken off the force, and maybe 5 years. And I'm not going to say that was a cold-blooded murder. That was not a cold-blooded first-degree murder. I am definitely not willing to say that was a cold-blooded first-degree murder. But you better make for goddamn sure that you know what you're pulling back up. Alright, what else do we have here? Michigan governor orders urgent response to Benton Harbor water crisis. Coming to ABC 7 via the Associated Press. Governor Gretchen Whitmer on Thursday ordered a whole-of-government response to elevated levels of lead in tap water in the southwestern Michigan city of Benton Harbor and vowed to accelerate the replacement of its lead pipes. Her directive that state agencies ensure that Benton Harbor residents have safe water came about a week after her admin, amid criticism of state and local officials' handling of the response, urged people to only use bottled water for cooking and drinking. The crisis has parallels to Flint, which became a symbol of the nation's decaying water infrastructure and government mismanagement. The Democratic governor on Thursday also committed to replacing lead service lines within 18 months, accelerating what had been a 5-year timeline announced more than a month ago. This whole-of-government response will proceed with the urgency and haste this threat demands, Whitmer wrote in the order, which mandates that residents receive free or low-cost lead-related services, including health care. Benton Harbor, a predominantly black and mostly low-income community of 9,700, is in Berrien County, 100 miles from Chicago. For 3 years, measurements have detected lead levels were above 15 parts per billion. Federal threshold for taking action. Following the 2014-2015 Flint water crisis, Michigan put in place the nation's strongest lead and water regulations, but advocacy groups, including Benton Harbor Community Water Council, recently urged the Biden admin to help, alleging that city and state actions, including corrosion control measures, have been poorly implemented and ineffective. So, I've got a practical problem with what's going on with lead pipes. And yes, I do believe that lead pipes should be taken out of service everywhere. Because, dude, it's lead. Dude, seriously, it's lead. Get that stuff out of service. Especially if you're on government infrastructure. If you're in your own home and you've got lead pipes, I think you're stupid for keeping them. But that's your home, your property, your choice. You're allowed to do it because it's your home, your property, your choice. But I'm also allowed to think that you're dumber than fucking shit for not replacing that on your property. I get that privilege. But as far as like the infrastructure and everything, I do have a practical question for this. If we eliminate all the lead pipes, does this mean we also have to go and retrofit every single game of Clue? No, that's a serious question. Do we have to come back and retrofit all of them? Because lead pipes aren't the norm anymore. From
and now,
NBC4 New York.
New York City's next mayor.
That also has an autoplay.
Saturday, and it just
shut up, you. The race for mayor. 7-foot Harambe statue stares down Wall Street's charging bull, which is now covered in bananas. Oh no. No, they didn't do bananas, did they? Did they really? This is from Gabriela Lozano. A 7-foot-tall bronze statue of Harambe, the Cincinnati Zoo gorilla that made national headlines in 2016 after picking up and carrying around a 3-year-old boy who climbed into its enclosure, then getting shot, appeared on Wall Street on Monday. The giant gorilla was placed in Bowling Green Park directly across from the famous charging bull, which was surrounded by 10,000 bananas. Wow. That will later be donated to the local food banks and community fridges to make a point about wealth disparity. The organizers, founders of Sapien Network, an in-net development social networking program dedicated to putting the needs and welfare of human beings first, so they put up the display to show that Wall Street has become bananas, wholly out of touch with the needs of everyday people. Okay. Sapien Network co-founders Robert Giametti, Teje Elrou, and Ankit Basha said they used the symbol of Harambe to represent the millions who struggle under a U.S. capital system they say enriches the wealthy elites and leaves the average person behind. But as Giametti told News 4 on Monday, it's not about rejecting capitalism or the current system. It's about revolving them into the current future and letting them empower more groups of people. That's the whole point of the story. Harambe is a representation of something that lets us look at more than just ourselves. What are we aspiring to as people? He explained, it's about connecting. A simple gesture of giving a banana builds a community. As a society, we need to come together. We can't keep fighting to come together. A 7-foot Harambe statue made out of brass. How many pounds would you say that probably is? We're going to bring this back up here. Because brass is $1.82 a pound. Now, I don't know if the statue is solid. I highly doubt that it is. Or hollow. But 7 feet tall, that's a foot taller than I am. That's a bunch of fucking brass. And I'm not talking about the balls that these people have on them to go and put this out here. You want to talk about disparity between the poor and the rich? How much did this statue cost? And also, by the way, how much did the bananas cost? How much did it cost to make this eyesore of a statue? That's my question about this. That's the question I have. How much did it cost? If you're going to talk about the disparity between the rich, how much did it cost to commission the statue? The artist's work time, the materials, just the raw materials. And this is for scrap. This is not counting how much the brass cost after it went through the recycling yard, after it got processed, after it got made into an ingot, and then recast and reprocessed again. And then given out to an artist who was able to commission this into whatever it was that he... Because I don't know the process of sculpting with brass. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm completely ignorant to the process of sculpting brass. But there's got to be some labor time that's involved with that. And yes, on top of that, the cost of the raw materials. I'm not sure. All right. Some more football news. Washington State coach Nick Rolovich, 4 assistants fired for cause over COVID-19 vaccine mandate. From David Cobb. Washington State football coach Nick Rolovich has been fired for cause after refusing to take the Pinko-Pox jab after being non-compliant with both state and university policies. The university announced on Monday evening Rolovich sought and appears to have been denied a religious exemption from those mandates, which required employees to be vaccinated against the Pinko-Pox by October 18th if they wish to continue working. 4 state assistant coaches have also been terminated: Ricky Logo, defensive tackles; John Richardson, assistant head coach, cornerbacks; Craig Stutzman, co-offensive coordinator, quarterbacks; and Mark Weber, offensive line. Defensive coordinator Jake Dickert will serve as the team's interim coach. This is a disheartening day for our football program. Our priority has been and will continue to be the health and well-being of the young men on our team, said athletic director Pat Chun in a statement. The leadership on our football team is filled with young men of character, selflessness, and resiliency, and we are confident of these same attributes will help guide this program as we move forward. Rolovich, who earned $3 million a year at Wazoo, expressed uncertainty over his long-term status after his team's 34-31 victory over Stanford on Saturday, saying he was waiting on an email for this exemption request. "I don't think this is in my hands," Rolovich said. "I have been settled for a long time on it, and I believe it's going to work out the right way." Second class of citizen. Oh, they sandcast it? I see Ron talking back about the statue. So, I am familiar with sandcasting. I guess I didn't realize that's what they used for something of that size and that scale. I know how to do sandcasting on something on a small scale. I guess I didn't realize that, it was something they did for something that big. Alright, what else do we have here? MSNBC panel, DeSantis would win by double digits in 2024. AOC is suicide for the Democrats. From Daily Wire News. On-air personalities on MSDNC warned Monday that Democrats need to quickly move away from the far left wing of the party if they have embraced. Otherwise, they'll get blown off the map in 2024 if Trump does not run again. Frequent guest Donnie Deutsch made the comments while conversing with Joe Scarborough, who agrees with Deutsch on the network's Morning Joe. If the Republicans ran by anybody but Donald Trump, they would win in a landslide, Deutsch said. Anybody just right of center, anybody. Deutsch said he wanted to see how different polls of how potential 2024 candidates stack up against Biden, predicting Trump would win in a rematch. Deutsch noted the candidates like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis would win by over double digits in 2024. Let's listen.
Here's the fact. If the Republicans ran anybody but Donald Trump, they would win in a landslide. Anybody just right of center. Wow. It is anybody. Anybody. I'm not saying that's...
Let us... Donnie, nobody has said this enough. Nobody has said this enough. You go back and look at 2020. Democrats were shocked by how badly they underperformed in the House, shocked by how badly they underperformed in the Senate. Donald Trump had to work overtime to make Mitch McConnell the minority leader in Georgia. They had to work overtime to lose that. You look at state legislatures across America less connected to Trump, and they did very well. You look at governorships less connected to Trump. They did very well. Republicans had a pretty darn good election cycle in 2020, despite the fact they should have been wiped off the face of the political earth because of the insanity and the neo-fascism that Donald Trump was pushing, trying to arrest his opponent and all the other crazy things. And yet Republicans still did very well, except for Trump. And if anybody but Trump had run, they would have won by 20 points.
I would like to see some polls today. First, a poll of Trump against Biden, which I think Trump would eke out a victory. But then I want to see polls with Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis or fill in the blank, and they would win by over double digits. It is, I live in this bubble, in this very kind of blue state, and I cannot tell you the unrest with the feeling of the Democrats in control, the way they're running things, the way Biden not feeling his hands are on the wheel and nobody on deck. That's the concern the Democrats have. But if the Republicans were smart, they would move away from Trump. Can they? Will they? You and I don't know that. But clearly, if they did, it would be a landslide.
So then they're saying, and I understand where they're trying to come from and what they're trying to do, because MSDNC, as much as they do try to push out progressive politics, it's really all about power for MSDNC. They have embraced the progressive line of things because that got popular among young kids, and it got young kids to go back and click on their network. But they really are all about power, and that's really all that it is. And yes, they're coming in here, and they will throw these people under the bus if it comes to putting them back in power. All right, let's do a couple more here. We're not going to get to everything, unfortunately, today, but we also have to do Twitter trending and head out of here for the day. So let's grab, what else do we have? What else do we have here, folks? That's an Australia one. I don't want to do that. Let's do this one, and then we'll do the video at the end here that I do want to touch on as well because of the paternity line that goes with that and the fostering. Except that's a long video, but we'll talk just a bit about that. But this one comes here from Eyewitness News, ABC 7, WABC TV. New York City Commission votes unanimously to move Thomas Jefferson statue from City Council chamber. So, Jefferson, we barely knew you, and Godspeed in your next journey. The New York City Public Design Commission voted unanimously Monday to make move a controversial 188-year-old statue of Thomas Jefferson from the City Council chambers at City Hall. They missed a T, it looks like. However, where that statue will be moved remains up in the air. The statue, which will be the statue, which dates back to 1833, was expected to go on a long-term loan to the New York Historical Society by the end of the year, where it would be included in educational exhibits with the proper historical context that will likely include discussion of Jefferson's slave ownership. Yes, because that's the most important part of what he did. But members of the commission disagreed over the initial plans because the New York Historical Society charges a fee. One suggestion was made to move the statue to the governor's room at City Hall, a small museum located just outside the council chamber on the second floor, or it could move to the New York Public Library, which already displays a copy of the Declaration of Independence in Jefferson's handwriting. The members agreed to find an appropriate home for the statue by the end of the year. So, Thomas is gone. He'll be gone soon. They don't know where they're going to put him, but he will be gone soon. F's in the chat. Big, big, big F's for Thomas Jefferson. This last one I want to touch on here. Let's listen to a little bit of this first, but I want to kind of go over some of the quote tweets that go along with this. So-called social justice warriors are now putting the welfare of orphans in jeopardy, reports Dana Lash. Activists want to abolish the foster care system and end biracial adoptions, explains Naomi S. Riley. Let's listen.
It feels like social justice activists have made it a mission to destroy everything that they touch in the name of some kind of progress, although I'm not quite sure how they measure their progress. Now, woke policies have found their way into the foster care and adoption systems. This is insane. And they're impacting the welfare of children because it seems now that they are giving actually more priority to racial quotas than actually finding children good homes and families to care for them. And so as a result, how many kids are languishing now, not being able to find a forever home, find their adoptive mom and dad, or languishing waiting to get into the foster system? Joining me to discuss this issue, and I can't even believe that this is an issue. This was one of the areas that I at least thought would be protected from this, is Naomi Schaefer-Riley. She's resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, senior fellow at Independent Women's Forum, and author of a new book called No Way to Treat a Child: How the Foster Care System, Family Courts, and Racial Activists Are Wrecking Young Lives. Naomi, thanks for joining me. This is so sad.
Thank you.
This is, I mean, we have some very dear friends of ours who are an adoptive family, and it breaks my heart to think that that family might not have come to be, considering now the way that this seemingly is being approached with adoption and adoptive families. Talk to me about this, and when did this really start becoming a major issue? Because I just would figure that the welfare of children would have taken priority and not racial identity.
Yeah, you would think, but unfortunately our child welfare system now seems to revolve around the needs of adults, not the best interests of children. So the racial element of the system is coming into play in two ways. First of all, you have a movement out there that's called Abolish Foster Care, which is basically sort of grown up along the defund or abolish the police movement. And it's equally dangerous as far as I can tell. They want to abolish the foster care system because of what they see as racial disparities. And they say that, Black kids are investigated more often and they're put into foster care more often than white children. What they do not tell you, though, is that Black children are about twice as likely to suffer from maltreatment in this country. And in fact, they're 3 times as likely to die from child abuse or neglect as their white peers. So Child Protective Services is supposed to obviously protect children regardless of their race. And these folks want us to get out of that business entirely. They even want to do away with mandated reporting, with drug testing for infants. And even they want to reduce police intervention in domestic violence, because often we find out about kids who are in danger when police go and intervene if a woman is being beaten by her husband or boyfriend. The second way that this racial activism influences the foster care system is exactly what you were talking about. There are people out there who think Black kids are better off in foster care, languishing in foster care, unable to find homes, than for them to be cared for by a white family. We are going through this intense period where everybody is focusing on matching skin colors. Even adoption agencies are making white families feel guilty about taking in vulnerable Black children, telling them that they have to check their white privilege, and that they're actually harming these kids by taking them away from their true quote unquote.
So, and I mean, that right there is horrifying, because, we have the adoption system, and I used to work with a guy, and, well, I didn't agree with the guy on a lot of things because, as far as working with him, he was kind of passive aggressive, and I didn't much care for that. But I also had a lot of respect for that guy because, he's probably, I think he's like 60 now. He's 60 years old, and raising, he and his wife, they couldn't have kids of their own. So I'd say probably about 14, 15. No, it's more than that, because I know the one's getting ready to go off to college. But yeah, it was way back in the early 2000s. They went out and adopted one at a time 2 Black kids at birth. Like, the mothers gave the kids up for adoption. And he's raised them as their own. And yes, especially living in Madison, I'm sure there's a big divide over what he's learning at home versus what he's learning about his own race at school. Because my former coworker, he's kind of a passive guy. He's not really strong-spoken or anything. Knowledgeable about what he does, I'll give him that, but he's not really strong-spoken or anything. And I mean, that in itself had to be a challenge, raising 2 Black kids who tend to be just a little bit more bullheaded than my former coworker is. And I'm not going to name names. But all that aside, I mean, under this system, under what they're trying to do for this, that would have been impossible for him to do. And of all the disagreements I've had with the guy, he loves his kids with all of his heart. And I know that. I've seen him with his kids. I've heard him talk about his kids. This guy gave up, like I said, he went in and adopted these kids at birth, went through the entire process. Nobody loves these kids more than this guy does. I can tell you that right off the bat, just from knowing him. And that's an adoption that would have never been possible under the system they're trying to put up. And some of the quote tweets on this tweet are reflecting some of the same sentiment. Chris Lash tweets out, this wokery is going to end up keeping a lot of Black kids out of good homes because The willing and loving parents happen to be white. Statism is sickness. I agree with that, and I'm sure I'm going to see a little bit more of this coming out of the chat, because that's a very easy thing to say. Statism is sickness. Maddie RS can kiss my Native American ass, so white people can adopt black kids and black people can adopt white kids. The foster system needs a lot of work, but these social justice warriors are trying to bring us back in time. These kids deserve great homes no matter what race the parents are. Y'all are hurting kids. Trump Army tagged Chris Lash and Dana Lash off of this and made a bunch of hashtags. And then Kira, this is the one that I found it, Real Kira Davis, was the one that brought this to my attention, because somebody retweeted her retweet of this, saying, in the 90s, my black aunt and her husband were foster parents to a 3-year-old white boy. He lived with them for 2 years. When they tried to adopt him, they were told it wouldn't be good for a white child to be raised in a black home. They were crushed. We are going backwards. Yeah. And I mean, I've only seen it from the other direction, but, you know, Kira Davis has seen it in that direction, too. So yes, this is bad. And yeah, we're going back in time. We're going back into segregation. I mean, what do we see out of schools here? The kids want their own black spaces. They want to be in black classes, separated from their white peers, because of racial disparities, and their white peers are richer and everything, even though they're all in the same college. They all have the same opportunity. Segregation is coming back, and I don't care for it. I don't like it. But that's what we have off of that here. The last thing we do on Tuesday is Twitter trending. So let me go grab the Explore tab off of Twitter for you guys. And let's see what's trending for the day. We will skip the advertisement. Well, my ad blocker took care of the advertisement. Hooray. We're going to start with Boone. The New York Yankees announced today they have re-signed manager Aaron Boone to a 3-year contract through the 2024 season with a club option for 2025. And in spite of the fact that I didn't do baseball this year and I didn't do baseball last year because of the BLM stuff, and I didn't feel like giving the MLB my money until they get rid of their woke shit, I still bleed blue and red. So, sorry Quest fanning, but boo Yankees! I think you are villains because of the fact that I happen to live in a particular region of the country for 2 years. Sorry, Quest. Number 2, Dashaween. Tending with hashtag entry. Let's see what this is. Oh, it's a DoorDash advertisement. Halloween treats, spirits, and more magically appearing at your door. Now that's spooky. Share how you're celebrating with Dashaween plus entry for a chance to win a Halloween snack kit and a $25 gift card. So that's why that's trending, because people want to get free stuff. There you go, the magic of capitalism. To force a trend. Skipping Tuesday vibe. Next one is Slept. Sweet dreams and sweet tunes are combined as people keep a chain of band t-shirt puns going. Oh. Why the fuck is that dude on the top? Dude, that's been going on for weeks, though. Plus every other tweet out there that mentions the word slept. This girl got dumped by her boyfriend by text while she slept last night. Can we get a hell yeah for my teenager who said, fuck that, I'm going to homecoming anyway? I'll give you a hell yeah for that. The last girl I went on a date with decided she didn't want to continue things through a text message, so I feel you. I feel you. Alright, next one. Cashman will be the next one. Let's see what Cashman is. Blake Cashman, New York Jets linebacker, business inquiries, case at teamifa.com. This team is the stupidest team in America. We made it to the ALCS Game 7 and fired our coach just because Cashman has his puppet. We extend this guy. Unreal. So, once again, I didn't pay attention to the MLB at all this year, so I have no idea what's going on with this. But this seems to have something to do with the coach of the Yankees, or the manager of the Yankees, rather. Starting at 10:55 a.m., watch Yes as Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone meet live with the media. So, more Yankees stuff. Alright, and the last one that we're going to be doing is in basketball, NBA 75. Hashtag. Nets, Bucks, Warriors, Lakers. The 70th anniversary season tips off tonight on TNT. NBA 75. First, the Brooklyn Nets visit the defending champion, the Bucks, at 7:30 p.m. The Milwaukee Bucks won a championship? Wow. Okay. I've never paid attention to basketball, but I've lived around Milwaukee enough to know that the Bucks have, for the most part, been a second-tier team for my entire life. I guess I didn't realize, I guess I did realize that, actually. I remember that now that they mentioned that. But that still surprises me, with everything I've known about the Bucks for my entire life, that they won a championship. Congratulations, yo. Congratulations, that's awesome. Followed by the Lakers and the Warriors facing off at LA at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, like I say, I've never been a big basketball fan. Even before the woke stuff. It never appealed to me. I would rather watch football and baseball. And maybe hockey now. And rodeo. I like rodeo. That's the sport I like. PBR. Rodeo. Alright, we're out of it. We're done. I gotta go find something to eat because I'm out of food for breakfast. Because I made a little road trip yesterday and I didn't go grocery shopping. So let's change up the track and let's get out of here for the day. Make sure you don't blast your eardrums out either. So, thanks everybody who came by and hung out with us in the live chat today. Very active live chat today, so I haven't even seen what's been mentioned after I said boo Yankees. But, unfortunately, yes, they are villains to me based on the region of the country I lived in for 2 years and nothing else. Other than that, go Red Sox. Other than that, we will be back here tomorrow with more contemporary, more news headlines. We will do something I'm thankful for tomorrow at the end of the show and see what is happening with the rest of this and what happens with the rest of the world. Doesn't look like there's a lot of stuff that's exploding right now, but in the next 24 hours, we could see a lot of that stuff explode. So we will see what happens there. Until then, come hang out with us tomorrow and go hang out with my friend Steve Ignoramus at the Daily Ignoramus, and we will see you tomorrow. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.